Da kan vi ønske velkommen tilbake hit til Kulturhuset i Tromsø. Mitt navn Karsten Meinich, og dette årets utgave av Filmprat. Vi har gleden av å få besøk av den argentinsk-franske regissøren Gaspar Noé, som sitter her sammen med meg nå, og jeg skal bytte til engelsk, og vi skal snakke om blant annet hans nye film CLIMAX, som vises på festivalen. Gaspar Noé, welcome to Tromsø. We are really happy that you're here. I just have to start off saying that it was such a joy that your visit was confirmed, because your film, it really separates itself from any similar kinds of film experiences. For those of us who love your films, we always have to wait some years until the next one comes. And then suddenly CLIMAX came really fast, and you've described the process as being really fast as well. Could you talk a little bit about where this film came from and how it got started?
There's one thing directors don't talk about usually, but I was totally broke, out of money. So I needed to do some work to pay my rent, things like that. And I was ready to prostitute myself doing commercials, but they didn't want me. So I found this idea that I should do a documentary about dance. And I had the idea in December 2017. And I proposed it to my producers, who did Love and Enter the Void. And I said, well, I want to shoot something very quickly, like a documentary about this new kind of dances, but it's also got a fictional part. And they said, well, what the fuck is that? And I said, oh, let's go for it. We'll shoot in February. And the truth is that we prepared the movie in 1 month. We shot it in 15 days, which actually is not 2 weeks, but 3 weeks or 5 days. And 2 months later, the movie was completed. So it all happened very spontaneously. And I got rid of my debts, and that was the best part.
And I find it really interesting that you say, okay, let's do a documentary about dance. Having seen CLIMAX, I know that the film as a genre is not a documentary, but you document incredible dance in the film. So do you feel like you kept some of the idea of a dance documentary in the film?
There is a French director who's 85 now, but he's a very close friend, Alain Cavalier. Yeah. And once he told me, oh, why do you want to use actors in movies? No, you should always film people that you're really fascinated by, who hypnotize you. And because then it's a good start. You have to love the story, you have to love the people you're working with, but mostly you have to be very attracted to the people you're filming. And I love dancing, but I'm a bad dancer, a nightclub dancer. And when I saw these voguers, crumpers in ballrooms and dance events, they were not professional dancers, they were like random dancers from the suburbs of Paris. I said, whoa, I really want to have fun with these kids, and probably they'll teach me how to do some movements. And it all happened like organizing a party. And when I had the idea, I just had like a short idea that was 2 pages long. And when we started shooting 1 month later, the whole script once again was 4 or 5 pages long. And all these dancers had never been in a movie besides Sofia Boutella, who's a great French dancer who moved to LA and who played in some movies, and another girl who's an acrobat who started acting. But there are 23 characters, and most of them were, do we need to say some words on screen? Do we need to learn those dialogues? What do we have to do? It's, no, just try to be good, do your best, and if you're good, I'll keep you in the movie. If not, I'll erase you. And okay. So and then it was like, yeah, probably it was the most collective work I've ever done. Yeah. I just felt I had a football team representing France, and I was just the captain of the team, but they did the job.
But collaboration seems to be really central for your films. When I look at your cinematographer, you always work together, and there's this certain energy and spirit that seems to be similar from film to film.
The cinematographers are very risky because they can be very slow, they can come full of bad ideas or conventional ideas. I've been working for the last 4 movies with Benoît Deby, and he's a genius, and he likes shadow, he likes colors, and even, for example, when I try to decide which clothes I'm going to put on the characters, or if I have to take any decision about the set design, I always go to him and say, "Hey, you're my artistic director. What should we put on?" And he always knows what to put on. I think it's much easier to keep on working with the same people behind the camera than with the same people in front of the camera, because if you've seen someone playing a character in a movie and then in the next movie he plays the opposite, it doesn't always work, because you still have in mind the previous character of the same actor or non-actor. But I like my team, they like me, and there's never trouble. There was really everything happened very quickly, but it's the first time that I did not have one single argument with anybody during the whole process of preparing the movie, shooting it, and post-producing it. It was although the movie can seem a bit dramatic to some people, you can tell that it was shot in a very joyful mood.
Yeah, but I think CLIMAX has a really energetic, joyful mood, even though, as you've described it, it is a catastrophe movie. Things go bad for these dancers. But it's not much of a plot, but it's essentially that these dancers are for those of you who haven't seen it and you don't know what it's about a group of dancers and they want to celebrate. They've achieved something. But then it goes downhill from there. Was it more of a plot that you kind of removed as you started working with the dancers, or was it this simple from the beginning?
I wanted to do a catastrophe movie, probably because when I was a teenager, I loved movies like The Towering Inferno, The Poseidon Adventure, and all those movies in which you had all these rich, cool people put in a closed space, and then it starts burning or it starts sinking, and you know that half of them at least are going to die, and how are they going to survive, and the bad guys become meaner, and in American movies, the mean guys always die. In life, it's usually the opposite.
So that was the kind of cliffhanger that you wanted to have, some sort of catastrophe.
Yeah, so and also because I don't like writing dialogues, especially when you work with non-professionals, because you can ask people to be themselves in front of a camera, you can ask them to improvise, but it takes some time to learn the words of someone else and learn the psychology of someone else. So I first did the casting, and then I rewrote the whole plot according to the dancers that I had selected.
But this is also, I mean, now we've already talked a lot about dancers and dancing, and I think it's a great pleasure to see a true dance movie. It's almost like a party movie as well, even though it goes really bad. It has the mood of a party and the style and the elements of a party. But when I think of discotheques and parties, I think of the dancing as wild and improvised, and you don't know what's going to happen on the dance floor. But in a movie, I guess you had to do some sort of choreography, or could you talk a little bit about that process?
Initially, I was considering not having a choreographer besides for the opening scene. Yeah. And it was Sofia Boutella who actually accepted to be in the movie 4 days before we started shooting.
4 days?
Yeah, also like many of the characters, I met them like 2 days before shooting. So, but when I contacted her at the beginning of January, I was asking her, "Oh, are you shooting a movie in February? Would you be free to come to Paris?" And she said, "What's the movie about? What's the title?" I said, "I don't have the title." And I told her in 1 minute the story of the movie, and said, "Well, but where's the script?" I said, "There's no script. Just come over, trust me." And of course, she had seen my previous movies, and that was a reason not to trust me, because, is there any sex scenes involved? I said, "No," but she didn't trust me. Is there, I don't know, any scenes of ultimate violence and things like that? And I said, no, trust me, you'll just do whatever you want. This is an open party. You'll suggest things, but because she didn't feel that safe about the project, she said, "Oh, but I know who has to be your choreographer." And she proposed me a great woman, a genius of choreography, called Nina McNally from LA, and we contacted her. I never thought she would accept the financial conditions because it was a very low budget movie, and that's how I got it financed. I promised that I would not go over a certain budget to my producers. But she said, yes, I come, and then Dad decided Sophia also to be part of the movie. But the choreographer arrived on a Wednesday. We're shooting on Monday, so she just rehearsed with 15 of the dancers out of 20 for 2 days. I wasn't there, and then on the Monday morning, the additional dancers arrived. So she kept on rehearsing her choreography on the music we had selected together, and then I had my crane. I started playing with the crane. I like playing with cranes. You know, usually you have crane operators. I say, no, that's my toy, and they're kind of envious or jealous because they never the director handles the crane. But I've done it during the whole process of Enter the Void, and the Japanese technicians hated me because I was stealing their toy. But I stole the toy once again, and then probably what made it so exciting is that they were coming from different families of dancing, and they were all like in total admiration of the other dancers. So even among the dancers, there were no fights, and no one was drunk, no one was wasted. They're very healthy.
It sounds different than what's in the movie, but that's tonight. There's a screening here in Tromsø.
Probably the movie looks more like my own life.
Yeah.
So I was bringing them to play my character 23 times.
Tonight, the audience will see the film here, and they will be able to ask you questions after having seen it. But since I have seen it, I have to ask that the first scene of dancing is an incredibly choreographed scene, not only for the dance choreography, but also for the camera movements. And your visual style has this element of, I think it's one of the best combinations where you know that the technical challenge must have been enormous, but it still feels fluid and dynamic, almost as if you just did it so simply. Could you talk a little bit about how you make it work?
I had already done 2 movies, Irreversible and Enter the Void, with long master shots, with crane movements. So probably it's easier for me than for other people because I know what works, what doesn't work, and I know what are the issues with a crane or with a handheld camera. I also operated the camera during the whole movie.
Yeah. So is that being the operator and having control of the movements, does that make it
it's like
faster also?
It's being like the ghost dancer. You know, I thought it would be better for the actors if I was operating the movie after that opening crane scene, because I could stay close to them. I could even tell them to do things, or I could suggest them dialogues on the set. So I was always like 1 meter away from them.
I have to ask a little bit about your other films as well, since we have you here. And I know that a lot of people in Norway appreciate your films a lot. And one thing that has become really important is that I think your films has really influenced a certain generation of filmmakers to think more colorful, visual, sort of be more brave with what they can do with imagery. Do you have any thoughts about that? Now that you've become a filmmaker that has made so many films, that your style is beginning to influence younger filmmakers. How do you?
I was influenced by so many directors. You can tell when you see this movie that I have seen Christian F. You can tell that I've seen movies by Brian De Palma with long shots. You can tell that I've seen I Am Cuba. I Am Cuba was probably the first movie with very impressive master shots, and movies come from other people's movies. They come from documentaries. They come from your personal life or stories your friends tell you. And it's a mix-up. I'm happy. The movie is effective at the end. Yeah. And it's weird. 3 weeks ago, I went to see a movie in a theater, and I arrived too late, and they were in the same theater in the mall center. They were playing Utoya, the Norwegian movie.
Erik Poppe's
so I didn't expect to see that one, but I saw it, and I really was impressed. Besides that, the movie is really strong and stressful and efficient. um, it's like he used some tricks of filmmaking that I didn't know many other people would think about. And the second half of CLIMAX looks a lot like that movie Utoya in the way it's filmed.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. You mentioned it yesterday that you had seen this film, and obviously because of this event, the film about Utøya becomes a very special film for Norwegians. But it's very interesting to hear from the outside that the way he decided to shoot that kind of story is making a notice outside of Norway.
There's one thing also when you shoot a movie in the regular way, as all TV movies are shot, or most of the cinema since the 60s has adopted a TV style. It's a close. You go to a close-up of actors
cutting like this,
talking, and the moment they stop talking, you go to the close-up of the guy who's going to answer, and then go. And it's so far from the real perception in real life. Like in real life, there are no cuts. When you're far from someone, you're far, and when you're close, you're close. And when the person is far, you don't hear his voice as much as when he's close. And I get more attached to movies when you have long takes, and also it creates an easier mood for the actors and non-actors, because you create the mood and then you just film it. So probably I like the result, but also I like how it goes on the set when you don't make any cuts.
When CLIMAX was a film that you had to shoot it quickly and you had to have a low budget, does it also...
And also we shot it chronologically, and I guess Utoya was shot chronologically.
Yeah,
too.
so the scenes are shot in the
but
order.
In this case, probably had a very pre-written script. In my case, we were inventing with the performers the story every day. For example, there's in the movie you see a brother and a sister. They were not meant to be brother and sister in the movie, but just after shooting the choreography, they were having lunch, and I said, oh, they could be brother and sister. Hey, do you mind playing a brother and sister? I said, no, okay, we're brother and sister. And then like 2 days later, I said, well, can you be jealous because she's dating another guy, so pretend you're the jealous brother. I said, well, okay, I'll be the jealous brother, and she's complaining about that. And then later say, oh, if you were a bit more incestuous than that. And he said, oh, that's funny, okay. So, in their case, they did not know at all what they were going to play. I didn't know it either. But in the process of the movie, the things were written on the set, and at the end of the movie, the choreographer, played by Sofia Boutella, she drops her boyfriend and she goes with someone else. And in my mind, she would go with one of his friends or two of his friends. I say, which other guy do you want to say? Oh, I already have a boyfriend in the movie. No, I'd rather go with a girl. I say, okay. So like 3 days before finishing the movie, I say, so who do you want? And say, oh, the blonde one. It's okay. So, and that girl likes girls. So she said, oh yes, I want. So when you see the end of the movie, I didn't expect to film that, but yeah, that's how they wanted it to be.
But it's amazing, this amount of improvisation in a way. They have to trust you, obviously. They are performing in your film and they trust your choices. But for what you describe now, you must have to trust them also a lot. What gives you the confidence to be so...
That's why usually when I do the casting, I do some tricks to know if I can trust people. I always say, oh, you look like a party guy or a party girl. Do you like drugs? And when they start telling me they like coke or marijuana or whatever, I say, oh, okay, great, me too. But then I don't take them because I don't want to have cokeheads on the set or potheads. One thing is partying with them, but working with people who are on pot or on coke is impossible. And the other trick that I often do is that I ask people, oh, would you mind being naked in the movie? It's not because I want to, there's almost no nudity in this movie, just to see how they react. Because people, oh, no, you're not film my penis, whatever. So, okay. But then I can tell the person is very stressed, so I'd rather work with people who are not stressed, but then there's no nudity in the movie.
So the ability to relax is a way to get them to trust you.
So that's like, you work with your instinct. And I think most people follow their instinct more than their brain.
This is very interesting stuff, and I think you have a chance to talk more about this tonight after the screening. I'm sure people will ask you some great questions about that. I have one thing that I was thinking about is that in the film industry, even in a festival like this, people read what films to see, and we are very bogged down by...
There are many good movies in this festival. You should check the Lars von Trier, you should check the one I just saw by Bradley Corbett, and you should absolutely see the Keshish, Mektub My Love. You're lucky because sometimes you have two-way movies to come out, and you have almost all the best movies of the year playing at the same time, the same week, in the same festival.
Listen to his recommendations. Yeah. I agree completely. It's a very good program here this year, so it's just like people should, instead of watching 8 movies, they should watch like 15 or 20. But what I was going to ask was that we look at a description of a film, and very fast we look at the genre and like, what kind of movie is it? Am I gonna like it? And one great challenge about CLIMAX is that I have many ways I want to say you should watch this movie. But I can say you should watch it because it's a dance movie. You should watch it because it's a funny movie. And it's also a horror movie. What do you feel? I always tell people you should show it to your younger brother or younger sister. The younger the better, because it's like educational movie about alcohol. You should watch it as an educational movie. Don't drink alcohol. No, but do you? You
can drink it, but you need to know how far it can bring you.
It's true. Do you feel that you have to present the movie as a certain type of genre, or do you feel free that you can make, like when you finance this movie and you presented it?
For sure, I did not say it was a musical comedy because I hate musical comedies. I like dancers, I like acrobats, I like, the Thai kickboxing, but there are other, sex is very cinematic, dancing is cinematic, praying is not, hacking is not at a point I wanted to do a movie about hackers. But then I said, I'm not going to spend my whole time filming people in front of a computer. And also, like, nowadays, there's a new thing that's part of everybody's life. It's cell phones. But cell phones are not cinematic. Phones were more cinematic because you could follow the conversation. Now people are texting, and then you have to do a close-up. And close-ups of those smartphones are horrible.
It's true, it's certain things. And also football. They don't seem to be able to make a film about football. Football, you just can't make a good film about it. Or can you?
No.
No.
A good war, I guess war is cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, 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 boom.
But
people screaming. That's why Utoya is good.
I know you just came out of the movie Vox Lux by Brady Corbett, and I just wanted to ask you, first I wanted to ask you...
I jumped on my seat.
Did you like it?
Yeah, of course, a lot. But if you haven't seen it, go and see it. But you're going to jump in your seat after 10 minutes or after 5 minutes.
Yeah, it has some shocks.
It doesn't have much violence, but the very quick violence that appears in movies.
Yeah, but that is also a film that chooses to take something that works as cinema, like pop, and that kind of character that Natalie Portman plays.
And it's weird that I did not expect such a radical ending.
Don't spoil it.
No, but it's radical because it's everything but what you expected.
Yeah. Is that, looking forward, of course we already expect your next film to come fast, not slow. Hope you make it pretty soon. What kind of universe or film style have you not explored yet? Is there a certain genre that you would like to make? Or
I would like to do documentary.
Documentary, yeah.
But not a big budget documentary, but a documentary with all the toys you can have in a regular movie, drones, cranes, music, but just how you apply that to a true story. So to make a real story as assessed by the main movie.
Yeah. Okay, is that going to be your next film, a documentary, you think?
Probably.
Yeah, I know. Interesting. You just said the word music, and I thought, I haven't asked yet about the soundtrack for CLIMAX, but I have to ask. There's so many great songs in this movie that I just want to listen to the movie. Next time I watch it, it feels...
I have a CD, I'll give it to you.
But you found a choreographer pretty soon before the shoot, and you had a lot of improvisation, but how much of the music was predetermined? Did you have like a...
predetermined, for sure, the night before shooting the next scene, because the they were dance. Besides probably 3 scenes in which we didn't know which music. The very last scene, and when Sophia turns crazy in the movie, we didn't have the music, but then we got the rights, so she was dancing like psychotically without the music.
Okay.
But mostly we needed to negotiate the rights and have a official agreement at least the night before, so we could film people dancing on that, and it's very without replacing the music, and it's very hard to replace the music because everybody knows, especially when you use famous songs, they have a BPM, beats by minute, and otherwise you have to find a music with the same speed, but also good dancers move according to sounds, to instruments, and I had a long list of musics that was like 3 hours long before shooting the movie, and we started negotiating them all, and then we say, okay, we can get this one for 10,000, we can get this one for 5, we can get this one for 15, and then and some that I wanted, I couldn't get them. For example, I wanted the music of Giorgio Moroder that he did for Midnight Express, and the studio that owns the music said, no, probably they're trying to do Midnight Express 3D,
Okay.
But they didn't want to give the rights.
But you have some Moroder inside there, and for people who loves electronic music and dance music from the 80s, 70s, 80s, there's a lot of snacks in here. But you also found room for Aphex Twin, for example. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. And why hasn't that been used more in movies?
I don't know. But also because the Aphex Twin is represented by Warp Music, and I used some of their soundtracks in Love, so I knew the guy who was dealing for them, a French guy in London, and we're dealing in some other track from Warp Music, and I say, oh, is there a chance? Please tell me it's possible. That probably can I get Window Liquor?
Yeah.
I want it in the movie. I want it badly, but we're not rich, and at the end, we came with a deal that was good, that they accepted, and that was perfect for the movie. And so at the end in the movie, probably the 2 songs that really made me love techno music are in it. One was Rolling and Scratching by Daft Punk, and the other one was Window Liquor by Aphex Twin. There are music that when you go to a club, sometimes you're drinking, talking, and you listen to a track and you just jump and start dancing because you love the track.
I feel
that's to me with those 2, and also with Toxic by Britney Spears.
Yeah. But that's the way most of us get to dance, because most of us might not be dancing as professionals, might not be dancing much in regular life, but sometimes we just jump the floor. And the song is almost always the reason to do it, unless alcohol is involved.
Sometimes the 2 are involved, sometimes more. But the thing also, when you put in a movie tracks that are very famous, people feel more related to the story or to the characters, because it's those musics are part of your brain, of your life, and so in many ways are more emotional, and that's why at the end of the movie we used Angie, and that was the last song that we negotiated, and it was probably the most expensive. It's an instrumental version that we re-recorded. But I thought, everybody has dances slow on Angie, so if you want to make people cry at the end, or at least you try, why don't you put Angie?
I know that we are running out of time, unfortunately, but...
I'm okay.
Yeah, this is good, but you're just getting started today. I know you're meeting a lot of people later in the afternoon, and tonight there's a screening of CLIMAX. And I just have to inform everybody watching this or here that CLIMAX is also going to be released in Norwegian cinemas from February 8th. So there's a good chance that your film gets an audience across the whole of Norway. Gaspar Noé, thank you so much for coming here today, and see you later. Thank you.